I would say if you don't learn how to sell, you will never develop leverage. You will never become important. People who can generate revenue have power. If you shy away from those areas, you will never have a major position. I say never have. Of course you may have. But if you can deliver revenue, if you can sell, you have leverage. So that's my bulletproof RX. Now for me, I went to law school. I came out here actually to practice law for a short period of time. The sports business was just beginning, and I got hooked. I was a pretty good athlete as a kid. Howard Cosell, for those of you who may remember who he was sort of a negative inspiration for me. He also was a lawyer. And I thought, my goodness, if this guy can become such a colossus, there has to be a job for me here somewhere. And I moved to where I thought there was more density of opportunity, which was Manhattan. Stone cold. I didn't know the town. I grew up in Boston, as you may have discerned by now. But that's where the opportunity was. And after a lot of what I call sort of pluck and luck, I found myself in the office of the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Bowie Kuhn at the time. This was in the mid-'70s. And I had gotten in to see him. His office was as big as his room. And he asked me about my background. I told him I was interested in sports. He said, oh, all right, let's talk baseball. I thought, oh, this is terrific. He says, what do you think of the designated hitter rule? I thought, well, I'm going to be candid, and I'm going to tell him exactly what I think. So I told him I thought it was an abomination and a perversion of the game. This was not a good idea. Because Kuhn was the major advocate of the DH rule, which was discernible if I hadn't been such an arrogant little puppy and had done a little research. Now, those days you didn't have your phone and your Google and you could pull it all up in 30 seconds in the waiting room. Well, not so easy then, which is why a lot of us didn't do it. And I walked in there, la-di-da. I figure I'm going to posit candor. I should have posited caution. Bowie Kuhn was a patrician fellow, 6'5", worked for law firms. He didn't care about candor. He measured every word he said. And he certainly didn't like the idea that I had just trashed the DH rule, something that he was trying to get passed. Well, needless to say, I didn't get the job, and the interview concluded pretty quickly. Some years later, I was being interviewed for a job in professional tennis. There was something called World Team Tennis, which some of you may still remember. There's a team actually in San Diego still. At that time, there was a team in New York called the New York Apples, or Sets, but we changed the name to the Apples. I was interviewing for the job of general manager, another job I wasn't qualified for. I was interviewing with Larry King, Billie Jean King's husband at the time. He was the president of the team. And he just wanted to find somebody who was warm, who would help him sell tickets, right? So I qualified, I was warm, and I had a little background in selling tickets. He says, but you got to meet Billie. So come up to the apartment tonight, and you'll meet her. Okay. Dressed up, tie and jacket, go to the apartment, get buzzed up, knock, knock. Billie Jean opens the door. She says to me, where's your stuff? I said, my stuff? What stuff? She says, man, your gear, we're going to have a hit. Your tennis gear. Didn't Larry tell you? She said. I said, not that I remember. She said, that's okay, because nothing bothers Billie. You know what I mean? She adjusts in a minute. She says, you're about Larry's size. She calls to the back of the bed, Larry, fix him up. I'll be down on the court. I'm thinking, there's a tennis court in the building? Do these people really care how I play tennis? They want me to sell tickets. They don't care. I'm trying to suss this all out while Larry is giving me some sneakers that don't fit. I got on black socks. He's giving me a pair of shorts. I take my tie off. He says, you don't need a shirt, just use your jacket. So I go down to the court, and I'm thinking, and I had prepared. See, I had learned my lesson from Bowie Kuhn. I was over-prepared. But the thing is that preparation doesn't always cut it, right? My preparation went out the window. I had to now rely on what? On my, my authenticity. You know what I mean? In the elevator down, I'm thinking, well, you know what? I'm going to just have a hit. See what happens. I was a lousy tennis player, but Billy knew, and she's on the court. She's got a fistful of balls. As soon as I come on, she starts hitting. And it didn't take her a minute to realize that she had to keep it on my forehand if there was any chance of it getting back over the net, which she did, but she still moved me around the court, up and back, side to side, while she's asking me questions. How old are you? Are you married? How long have you been married? Do you exercise every day? What do you do? Do you stretch before you exercise? How long do you stretch? What have you sold? Do you like to sell? What don't you like about selling? All the while I'm chasing around the court, trying to get a racket on the ball to get it back or look good, trying. She keeps peppering me with these questions. I see you're a lawyer. Why did you give it up? What did you practice? What didn't you like about it? How are you going to handle the athletes when they're not cooperative? Because they're not going to be often. How are you going to handle me when I'm not cooperative? And sometimes I'm not cooperative. All this is going on for about, the fat part of 45 minutes. It's a long time. I'm ripping. Finally, she jumps over the net like she's just won Wimbledon or something. And she says to me, Larry likes you. I like you. You're hired. We're lucky to have you. Imagine that. Billie Jean King telling me that they're lucky to have me. Yeah? I recommend the movie, The Battle of the Sexes. If any of you haven't seen it, that's about the Bobby Riggs match that some of you may remember. At the end of that match, that Billie won, and she agreed to play best of 5 sets in that match. Women didn't play best of 5 sets. She beat him in 3 straight sets. At the end of the match, Riggs jumps over the net and says to her, I underestimated you. Well, Billie Jean's father would tell her, don't underestimate people. And she didn't. She worked like a tiger to prepare for that match. So it's a mistake to underestimate people, as Riggs came to understand. There's a famous story in the music business about the Van Halen rock group. And in all of these rock concert contracts, there are writers that articulate the particulars of the act, what kind of construction for the stage, all the nitty-gritty stuff, and also things like what do they want to be served in the dressing room, right? Well, Van Halen had a writer in there that said they wanted a bowl of M&Ms. A lot of people may know this story because it's a famous story. But no brown M&Ms. And there were penalties on these rider provisions, serious penalties. It cost you tens of thousands of dollars if you didn't adhere to these riders. So I'm backstage because I had a sponsor involved in the event, and the garden guys are fishing out the brown M&Ms. And everybody's mocking Van Halen and David Lee Roth, who was their lead guy, and what a jerk he must be, and, making him, spoiled brat and rock star, and he just gets off on us having to pull out these brown M&Ms and da-da-da-da-da. Well, it turns out that he was very clever. The brown M&Ms were like the canary in the coal mine, right? He wanted to make sure that you read the rider because the rider contained things about how you set up the stage. He didn't want to get injured. So he saw, if he saw no brown M&Ms when he walked in the dressing room, he knew that you'd read the rider. He could relax a little bit. If there were brown M&Ms in the bowl or the no M&Ms, he was worried about the setup. So if you underestimated him, you made a mistake. The guy was actually genius in that regard.